Welcome everyone to another LANSA webinar. Today's webinar is Low Code, Your Questions Answered. My name is Tony Graham. I am the LANSA Product Marketing Manager. And to give you a little background about myself, as an IS manager, I led a custom ERP modernization project using the Visual LANSA hybrid low-code platform. It was an RPG.NET combination that I led the movement to Visual LANSA. Along with my IS manager experience, I have 8 years in software development in RPG and is .NET as well. So before we get started into the heart of the webinar, I want to talk a little about the state of low code and where low code is headed over the next couple of years. The low code market continues to grow at an outstanding pace. So according to Gartner, by 2024, low-code application development will be responsible for more than 65% of application development activity. Gartner also says by that same year, by 2024, 75% of large enterprises will be using at least 4 low-code development tools for both IT application development and citizen development initiatives. So obviously, low-code is growing. Low-code is a proven app development method. So here's some questions I'll ask is why 4 low-code tools per large enterprise? And I think as we go through the agenda, that might be kind of, I'll uncover that on why that may be and some different approaches maybe to eliminate so many different tools. So today's agenda, I'm going to keep this webinar roughly 20 to 30 minutes with plenty of time to ask questions at the end. So we're going to go over, and the question and answers, there's a question and answer feature that's available to you. So anytime during this webinar, if you have a question, type it into the box, in the question box, and I will get to the answers at the end of the webinar. And any questions we don't answer live, if we can't get to them, or I can't answer them here right now, then we will get back with you in an email and follow up with your question. So today, we're going to go over what is low code, what is hybrid low code, no code versus traditional low code versus hybrid low code, and then the Visual LANSA difference, Visual LANSA being a hybrid low code platform, and then closing remarks and time for those questions. So we're really going to gear this webinar so people understand the differences in low code and what may be right, what may be not right for your particular application, and then how Visual LANSA differs from the different low codes. So what is low code, right? Magic, hype, or for real? Well, from the opening statistics, I think we know it's for real. It is being adopted at a high rate. It is being used successfully in many applications. But obviously, though, if enterprises are looking at 4 different platforms, 4 low-code platforms, there are some setbacks, if not used properly or depending how you're using it. So let's take a look at what low-code really is. So low-code, in its simplest definition, is an app development method focusing on visual elements, including drag and drop, wizards, and templates, instead of having to handwrite code. So, and now no code, so kind of the precursor, like a watered down low code, if you will, focuses solely on visual development, while low code does offer the ability to extend apps by handwriting code in other languages outside the IDE, the low code IDE. So low code tends to be very simple. In low code, same thing, it has those simple controls, but with some complexity, it can be extended. Now, to develop in a traditional low code and no code platform, the majority of them are flowcharts. You're going to be dragging and dropping icons onto your screen, and then in a workflow manner. So, a start, then this happens, then you're going to drag another block over, and then based on what happens in that block. So triggers, processes, logic blocks, and then each block will have a set of options that you can select based off what the inputs are. So It's great for creating very simple applications quick, but as you can see, you're very limited on if you need extra functionality, you're limited on what you can do. In many low-code platforms, if you need that extra functionality or complex problems, then you can't do it inside the platform. You drop out and you add that platform in additional language. Now, with no code, you can't do that. With some low-code platforms, you may drop out and write code in Java. Maybe it's in C# or a different Visual Studio plugin. So what's hybrid low-code, right? Is that even a real term? So, LANSA created the original low-code platform, but low-code, as defined by the market, has really changed over the past 4 or 5 years. LANSA's approach to low-code is very unique, and how the market defines low-code doesn't really match Visual LANSA's capabilities. So the term hybrid low-code, it really better suits the Visual LANSA platform's capabilities. So if we take a look at hybrid low-code, so hybrid low-code combines aspects of visual development found in low-code and combines it with hand coding found in traditional development into one IDE. So you get the speed and efficiency of low-code with the control and power of traditional coding. So in Visual LANSA's case, the hybrid part comes from a language called RDMLX. And RDMLX is simply a powerful high-level language with near limitless capabilities. So anything you can do in any of the other languages, you can do that. But this language integrates perfectly with the Visual LANSA platform with hybrid, with the other low-code elements. So then no code versus traditional low code versus hybrid low code, right? That's a lot of different code. And each one has its place. Not every application is suited for hybrid low code. Not every application is suited for no code. So understanding the difference in the three and what you're trying to do is the key to success when you're developing your application. So here's a quick comparison, right? The difference between no code, traditional low code, hybrid low code. So no code is very simple user interface, usually focused on designing one type of app or very simple apps. Think of a simple task tracker. It's not scalable for enterprise. It's not designed with professionals in mind. This is a very cheap, usually a very cheap, a very easy way to create a application, a simple application that's really enables anybody to create an application. So low code kind of takes no code and extends it a little bit. So with low code, you can create simple apps that can be expanded with Java or a Visual Studio plugin, JavaScript, and they're usually geared toward non-professional developers. So the complex processes have to be done outside the IDE. So with no code, you're just looking at what the platform offers is what you get. Low code, what the platform offers is what you get, but you can go try to extend it yourself and try to mesh the two. So hybrid low code, it differs because what it does, it combines the low code methodologies, making application development simple and easier than traditional coding. So you get these low code methodologies. Now you're not going to be coding in the workflow. It is going to be set up more like a traditional development platform, but with a lot of low code shortcuts. And so you're going to be doing all this in the same IDE. And hybrid low code is geared to allow professional developers to be as efficient as possible. So it's not designed for non-developers. And so there on the three, that's where it kind of comes into play. What app do you want to create? Who's going to be creating your application? So again, no code, very simple. It's SaaS, limited integration. Maybe using Zapier, if this, then that. Very simple. It might have a plugin to go to something like Salesforce, and that's all you're going to do with it. So low code takes that no code idea, but allows you to extend it outside the IDE in a different language. And then hybrid, what it does is then it combines, it's better suited for complex applications, enterprise applications, because it combines certain aspects of low code with certain aspects of traditional coding. So taking this idea of a task application, task manager, or a task tracker application, right? Let's kind of see the difference in the three applications. one in no code, one in low code, one in hybrid low code, and how they were different. And this kind of gives you an idea of, depending what you're trying to accomplish, which solution would be right for you. So if you're using a task manager application for no code, it's going to be intra-departmental. Only your department, maybe only a couple of users, very simple integration, maybe a calendar API that Zapier has. And that's all it's going to do. That's all it's going to do. You see the what you see is what you get kind of thing. You don't need any modification to the form, how the app looks. It's just simply just a simple task manager. Perfect for no code. Anybody can develop that pretty easy, pretty quickly. But now that task manager needs to be a little more complex. So now maybe you need to do it in low code because it's interdepartmental, and maybe for your entire company, you're going to have a lot more users than you would in no code, and you're going to have to integrate with maybe several APIs that the no code platform cannot handle. And so then that's where low code comes into play. And so you design it in low code, but now if you have to extend it, you have to go into the language that the low code application allows you to, drop out, develop it somewhere else if you want to extend that. But if you're just doing this simple straight task, don't need any modifications, again, low code is powerful in that respect. Now let's look at that task manager in a hybrid low code application. All right, so this would be enterprise, global, hundreds or thousands of users. You need to integrate with an IBMI, you need to integrate with SQL. You have some other systems that don't have APIs you need to integrate with. You do need to integrate with APIs as well. And just a simple straight form of low code doesn't work. You have to do some modernization on your own or some customization on your own. And that's where hybrid low code comes in, is where the low code platform maybe fails you, where you can't get as much functionality as you need out of it. Hybrid low code then can take that application and make it completely yours, but still having the speed and a lot of the functionality of these low code platforms. So just to kind of review on the differences. So we have hybrid low code, traditional low code, no code, easily scalable to enterprise level, easily scalable, right? That's only going to be hybrid low code. Now, extended with coding, hybrid low code and traditional low code are both going to be able to be extended, right? However, only hybrid low code is going to allow you to do that inside the IDE. So easily scalable if you have an application that you know is going to be enterprise level, that's going to need to scale, it's going to need some functionality that's not available in another platform. That's where hybrid low code come in, because you can code those features. So, however, hybrid low code is not geared towards non-developers. It is a professional development tool. The focus of hybrid low code is increasing app development by making the professional developer more efficient. So by equipping the pros with the tools they need to create complex solutions, yet give them the tools to speed up the mundane and repetitive and time-consuming task, is the focus of low code. So now we see, let's get into the Visual LANSA difference, the hybrid low code in action. So right off the bat, let's talk about the benefits of Visual LANSA, the benefits of having a hybrid low code solution. Number one is going to be reduce your technical debt. So app development is going to be reduced into one application. So you don't have to sacrifice your long-term goals for them short-term fixes. Now, if we go back to the Gartner stat, and where enterprises could have 4 low-code tools, that's a lot of technical debt. That's a lot of very specific tasks. You're focusing, trying to get something done right now. And what you're doing is you're sacrificing your long-term goals to try to get applications out right now. And so the more tools you start adding to your tech stack, the more technical debt you're going to incur. And so by reducing that to one IDE, by one development platform handling everything, you're going to greatly reduce your technical debt, increase developer efficiency. So all the tools needed to develop all your apps is in one IDE. So every Visual LANSA developer becomes a full stack developer. You're going to create web applications or desktop applications. If you create web applications, you don't need to know anything about those web technologies. Visual LANSA handles all that. And so you focus on your single IDE, creating front end and back end applications, code. So decrease app time and development time, right? Decrease app development time. So with the low code tools, a lot of the functionality of low code that's in Visual LANSA, you're going to reduce that app development time. Also by creating server-side and client-side code, staying inside the IDE, that's all going to reduce your app development time. You're not creating your front end in low code, then having to go extend that a little bit in a different language, and then need to create a different app for back end and then combine them all together. It's one application, it's one development environment. And then also for maintenance, you're not having to maintain 3, 4, 5 different apps for one application. You're not going into different IDEs to troubleshoot one application. For updating, it's simply one. So you increase the developer efficiency, you decrease the app development time, and ultimately that reduces your backlog. So you're developing apps up to 10 times faster than traditional coding. And so you see that backlog being reduced without sacrificing those long-term goals. So we talk about efficient app development. So you can create web apps, including cutting-edge progressive web apps. You can create desktop apps, very intuitive, very user-friendly desktop apps, and you're going to do it in the same IDE. So with Visual LANSA, you can develop web apps, and you can turn around and develop desktop apps, same platform, using the same technology, the same language, the same principles to develop either one. So some of the low-code features that Visual LANSA offers. So it's hybrid, so we give you the ability to write code, but we also fill it with features to speed up app development. So we have one-click progressive web apps. If you're not familiar with progressive web apps, a progressive web app is an installable web app. It's going to look and feel like a native application, but it's using browser web technologies instead of the native app store. However, to create the progressive web apps, you need a service worker and an app manifest. So you'd have to create these manually in any other development platform. You have to create the service worker, you have to create the app manifest, you have to hand code the cached resources you want. With Visual LANSA, it's one click. You select create app manifest and service worker, and it automatically creates it. The code is generated. Now you can go in and, all the code with anything generated in low code for LANSA, you have the option to go in and tweak the code. So we're not going to hide the code from you. So even if you use low code features, you're still going to have full control of your code. We're not going to hide anything on you. So progressive web app, you create a regular web app in Visual LANSA like you would in the Visual LANSA platform. And then you click a button and now it is a progressive web app. That's simple. And next slide, I'll show drag and drop, but then to finish off your progressive web apps, you simply drag and drop the resources you want cached, and you're done. You've created a progressive web app with zero coding, the progressive web app part. One-click cloud deployment, easily deployed to the cloud. The central repository. So this was like the original low-code concept, is having the central repository where you can store these universal business rules and triggers. So if you need to define a field and format that field, and you want that field formatted the same way in all your apps, well, just define it one time. In the central repository, say, this field needs to be always formatted this specific way. It can't be blank on updates or creates, but it can be blank on deletes. And you define it in the central repository, and you don't have to worry about it in your code. As well as that, it also handles your stores your reusable parts and your server modules. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with reusable parts, it's simply a chunk of code that you can reuse over and over again in any of your Visual LANSA applications. So if it's something that you're going to use a lot, instead of writing that code over and over and over again, simply put it in the repository and use it whenever you need it. And then server modules. So server modules is how you're going to communicate with your server-side data. And those are simply restored in the repository created in the same format as you would create any other application in Visual LANSA. And then we offer quick start templates. So you select a template, follow a wizard, and run your applications. So if one of these quick start templates is close to what you want, it's a good starting point, as opposed to starting from scratch. Start from a template. If the template's closed, you can modify the template. It's full control over it. The other thing those are good for is when you're just starting Visual LANSA, you want to learn, bring up a quick start template, fill it out, and kind of see how you can still see the code and you can manipulate everything. So a few more low-code features: drag and drop, forms, data, APIs, selecting your different APIs to be consumed or to be consumed. Drag and drop, PWAs, drag and drop. And then wizards, same thing, kind of like a template concept. That wizard, you answer some questions, maybe nominate some files, click the go button, and Visual LANSA does the rest. If there's something that wizard didn't quite do, maybe that you wanted it to, go in and extend it a little bit with some code. So, one of the things I want to stress is create your entire application in one IDE. So, that's one of the best strengths with Visual LANSA, is that you can create, and with hybrid low-code in general, is they let you create server-side and client-side. So you can create an entire client-side application without knowing several different languages. You don't need to know JavaScript. It's fine. You can add functionality with it if you want to. We're not going to stop you from doing that, but you don't need to. So if you're a straight RPG programmer, maybe you're coming over, don't know anything about web technologies, no big deal. You don't have to learn all the different web technologies. You don't have to learn how all those web technologies fit together and the best way to optimize all those, because the platform's going to handle that. And then in that same IDE, those same techniques, that same language that you just created your client-side application, you're going to create your server-side the same way. And so, again, you don't need to know all the server-side languages. It's simply Visual LANSA. Okay, so we're a little over the 20-minute mark. I'm just going to kind of close things up with the some closing remarks, and I'll have time for some questions. So Visual LANSA, the big, I want to stress, it's professional low code, right? It's professional hybrid low code. We're going to be able to integrate with anything. So that's the IBMI. You need, if you need to integrate with the I, we do it natively. You need to integrate with SaaS platforms, fine. Legacy systems, not an issue. SQL, etc. We are going to be able to integrate with it. If you need to integrate, Visual LANSA will be able to do it. We're not going to restrict you. Deploy anywhere, same thing. You want to deploy to the IBMI, you want to deploy to Windows, you want to deploy to the cloud. And what's great about Visual LANSA is you're going to be able to deploy one application across all those devices. So you only need to develop one application to run on that IBMI, to run on that Windows machine, to run in the cloud. So that's a great way to reduce technical debt, to decrease deployment costs, and reduce that backlog if you only have to create one application. And then free online learning. Visual LANSA can now be, we have a program called Learn LANSA. It is free online learning. You can sign up, you can go through the tutorials. We're constantly updating it with different classes. And so we're going to help you, new developers, learn low code, the Visual LANSA platform, totally free online. So, and we have some big tutorials coming up, getting ready to release, and those will be a great addition and really help new developers come up to speed very quickly. And again, the seamless app deployment. You're creating for one application for all your devices, for all your operating systems. You do everything right inside the same IDE. You don't need to drop out to create different aspects of your application. It's all done right inside your IDE. Okay, so that brings us to the end. I thank everybody for their time, for coming out today and joining us for this webinar. If you want to find out more, you can visit LANSA.com. But now I'm open to any questions. We have about 5 more minutes. If anybody would like to ask any questions about Visual LANSA or hybrid low code. Okay, so looks like we got one here. So what's the advantage of using your own language, the RDMLX? Isn't that learning another language? So you are. So you're going to be, if you need to extend your application, you're going to be using our own language. Now, what's great about that is that you don't need any other language. So instead of saying, okay, you've created some of this application in LowCode, but now you have to drop out and create it in another language and then add the two or combine them, try to integrate them. You don't have to. So this is great when somebody new is coming over that doesn't have experience in a bunch of web technology languages. You simply use our language, use our platform and create the entire application. And you don't have to worry about all these other different languages. And it's a very intuitive language. It's very simple and you're going to be able to grasp it. If you're a programmer, you should be able to grasp it pretty easy. As far as pricing page, I do believe we have a pricing page up if you need to reference that. If not, reach out to sales and to get the latest pricing.
Tony, there are a couple more questions.
Yeah, okay. So are there any books available for purchase for Visual LANSA? Not that I know of. We have a document site that has our a lot of the more technical data, and we will be adding stuff. I mean, Visual or Learn LANSA is kind of geared towards newer developers right now, but we will be adding stuff that's geared toward intermediate and advanced developers. So that's really the only thing we have right now. There's not one book to cover, but we do have some pretty extensive documentation on our doc site and in Learn LANSA. Okay, any other questions?
Yes, Tony, there's one question. Has LANSA any plans to use Python instead of RDMLX?
So there's, so I'll pass this question along, but from looking at it from a developer, there's no need to use Python instead of RDMLX, because RDMLX is it's perfect for anything Python can handle, and you're going to stay right inside the IDE. And so, I mean, we do offer some integration with .NET and JavaScript, but as far as something like Python, RDLX is going to be able to handle anything that Python can and do it right inside the IDE. But that's what we can pass up along and get you a solid answer for that. Okay, and that looks like all the questions. That brings us right to about the 30-minute mark. So again, thank you everybody for attending. I really appreciate you guys giving up half hour of your day. I know it's busy, and so we do appreciate you coming by and watching our webinar. So thank you very much.